Like and subscribe to PalsFundamentals on YouTube for more videos like this. Sources linked below. Welcome everyone to this regional news report.
Yes, today we're looking at recent politics, news, and economics across the North Atlantic. We're basing this entirely on the source material provided.
That's right. And just so we're clear up front, we'll be reporting on the content from those sources. We won't be adding our own opinions or, speculating.
Exactly, just laying out what the sources say. We've broken it down by country to make it easier to follow.
Yep. We'll start with Greenland, then move to Iceland, and finish up with the Faroe Islands. Sound good?
Sounds like a plan. Let's start with Greenland then.
Okay, so first up at Greenland. Politics and U.S. relations. There's this interesting situation with Nullarak chairman Pelle Broberg.
The sources say he's willing to meet Donald Trump independently, so separate from Denmark and the official Greenlandic government.
Which is, well, quite a contrast to Naalakkersuisut chairman Jens Frederik Nielsen's view. He thinks Denmark has to be involved, citing the Self-Governance Act.
And Broberg apparently called that stance immature governance. He also touched on the whole Trump wanting Greenland idea.
Right. He reportedly said Trump isn't invading, suggesting maybe some local politicians and the Danish press are overstating that particular threat.
Yeah, while still acknowledging it obviously causes public concern, which is understandable.
Then shifting to security, there was that interview with Malcolm Nance, the former U.S. intelligence officer.
His take was that U.S. spying in Greenland is, well, unlikely. Kind of a waste of resources, he suggested, given Greenland's size, open info, and bigger priorities like Russia and China.
But, and this is the interesting part, he also strongly advised Greenland to actually prepare a plan for a potential invasion.
Exactly. The source quotes him saying Trump has decided he wants Greenland and even suggested public resistance might be necessary. It's a bit of a contradictory message presented there.
Okay, moving to local governance. Commune Kerkertalik is apparently looking to improve citizen services.
Yeah, tackling those unanswered emails and long response times people have reported seems like a common frustration.
The plan isn't a total overhaul, though.
No, it seems they're keeping the current admin structure but want to develop it, involving the new municipal council. They have those uniquely named committees, too. Inua, Inuit, Inukorfik, Timitarni.
Now, on social issues, there's an agreement between Naalakkersuisut and Commune Kujalleq.
Right, focused on reducing the number of kids placed outside their homes. The numbers mentioned are quite high, over 800 child cases, 1,000 plus social handicap cases, over 500 acute ones.
And the new mayor, Malene Val Rasmussen, directly linked this to, as the sources put it, massive social problems and child neglect.
So this 2-year deal for 2025-26 is about early intervention, prevention for vulnerable families, trying to get ahead of the problem.
Finally, for Greenland, economics and Tasiilaq. Unemployment's a big issue there.
A really big jump, yeah. Registered job seekers more than doubled 139 last year, up to 286 now.
And the local psych union is feeling it, losing members because of job cuts. Municipality merger, 2 SAS layoffs, other businesses closing down.
It led to that protest back on May 18th, didn't it? Over 600 people demanding development, not dissolution, for East Greenland.
Naalakkersuisut Chairman Nielsen acknowledged development's been slow, mentioned plans for infrastructure, fisheries, jobs.
Including a new fish factory, though the source did note it'll only create about 10 jobs initially, so maybe not a huge immediate impact.
Okay, let's head south to Iceland now. What's happening with their economy?
Well, Íslandsbanki put out a forecast. They're predicting interest rate cuts down to 7.0% by year-end.
That sounds more optimistic than the central bank's been lately.
It does. They also see economic growth picking up 1.9% this year, maybe hitting 2.9% by 2027, driven by consumption, investment, exports.
But they did mention some uncertainties, like the U.S. tariff war.
Exactly. Potential bumps in the road, but generally they see a stable housing market and rising purchasing power, even if wage growth isn't as fast.
All right, turn to crime. Pickpocketing seems to be up in downtown Reykjavik.
Yeah, quite a spike. 18 reports from April to May this year versus only 5 last year, same period.
So police are putting up watchtowers in tourist spots.
They mentioned suspecting foreign criminal groups and some pretty large amounts stolen, up to $3,000 in one instance.
Though some locals aren't thrilled about the towers, apparently calling them a blight.
That's what the source reported, yeah. A visual impact concern.
Now, there was that very sad fire in Hjörarga. 2 deaths.
Terribly tragic. And the survivor reportedly believes his U.S. roommate started it. Police apparently suspect arson, too, finding gasoline cans.
The apartment housed 4 unrelated foreign men.
Yes, from the US, Czech Republic, and 2 from Hungary. A union expert quoted in the source called similar deaths among immigrant workers in shared housing a regular event, unfortunately.
And the Tenants Association head called these places room hotels, a
Yeah.
major issue.
Right. The owner is a rental company, and the source mentioned modifications to add rooms might not have actually been illegal. Neighbors described the men as good, quiet residents, though.
On the security front, NATO was testing drones at Keflavik.
Yes, part of the formidable Shield 2025 exercise. It was just for reconnaissance, though unarmed, operated remotely from Texas with local control just for takeoff and landing.
So this is tied to increased NATO surveillance in the area.
Seems so. Responding to changing international dynamics and using these new UAV technologies.
And quickly on consumer safety, Iceland's dealing with unsafe online products, like from Temu and Shine.
Yeah, it's a Europe-wide thing, apparently. They're tightening controls, leading a Nordic project. Risks like hazardous chemicals, BMHCA, cadmium, lead, plus fire and choking hazards.
And they're planning to use some kind of scanner.
An XRF spectrometer, yeah.
Yeah.
To quickly check products for harmful stuff.
Okay, let's wrap things up in the Faroe Islands. What's the news from there?
All right. The Mia Flukkerin, the Center Party, had their annual meeting. Topics included the social divide, rights concerning the unborn child and parents, and also Israel.
They discussed growing trade with Israel and had a guest speaker.
Yes, Aaron Mosses, who shared his experience from October 7th, 2023.
Shifting to labor policy, the People's Party chair, Beinir Johannesson, is calling for changes regarding foreign labor.
Clearer terms, better oversight. He raised concerns about rapid population growth straining welfare services.
And suggesting things like criminal background checks and requirements for families.
Exactly. And he's reportedly asked the Minister of Justice about discussions with Denmark on this.
There's also progress on cooperation with Denmark digital driver's licenses.
Yeah, an agreement so they can be used in both countries. They're hoping for eventual EU recognition, too. And something about Faroes buses in Denmark.
Right, transport ministers agreed to sign a proposal on that soon.
Then there's a significant move on autonomy civil aviation.
A joint declaration with Denmark about gradually transferring responsibility to the Faroes.
It's described as a step towards the Faroes taking full control of a technically complex area, planned in stages, focusing on safety, international cooperation. It'll need legislative changes in both places.
What about trade policy? Sounds like there are challenges there.
Definitely. A conference highlighted that Faroes fish exporters are at a disadvantage in Asian markets compared to Norway. It's down to trade deals and tariffs.
And the key takeaway was the Faroes aren't really at the table for new free trade agreements right now.
Precisely. Which raises questions about maybe needing to rethink foreign policy priorities towards trade, perhaps looking at WTO membership or joining a trade bloc.
Interesting. And in business news, Monesto stock jumped.
Big time, 50% in one day. That's the Swedish tidal energy company working in the Faroes. But strangely, no specific news reported to explain the surge.
Okay, lastly, environment and social action. Sea Shepherd salvaging food.
Yeah, over 400 kilograms of edible food from supermarket bins back in May, donated locally.
And they're framing it as a way to highlight food waste.
Right, pointing fingers at overconsumption and distribution issues, and sparking debate, apparently including about whaling, too. The source notes Skrelling, taking from open bins, is seen as legal, and criticizes stores for locking bins instead of just reducing waste. So quite a range, isn't it? From high-level politics and security concerns in Greenland and Iceland, right down to local service delivery economic forecasts and citizen actions in the Faroes.
It really is a diverse snapshot from the sources. When you see all these reports together, potential international incidents, debates on food waste, local job losses, autonomy steps, what does it tell you about the North Atlantic right now?
Well, it really underscores the interconnectedness, doesn't it? How global forces, national politics, and very local issues are all constantly interacting and shaping life in these communities. You see this tension between external pressures and internal needs playing out across the board.
A lot for these communities to navigate. Thank you for joining us for this regional news report.